Big Boss SB sends in 4.99, says, I know it's off topic, but would love to hear the panel's thoughts on the Sandman series on Netflix and thoughts on next season, if any. Now, I'm not sure if all of us have seen it. I know Andre has.
I've seen it, yeah.
Oh, and so did Paul. Did you script?
Nope, I have not seen the Sandman
Okay,
series.
so Paul and Andre, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, Paul, let's begin with you. Have you read the Sandman comics? What did you think about them?
I never read the Sandman comics.
Okay,
I'm only familiar with
just,
this show.
Well, that's interesting because I have. So then you will be assessing it just based on the series, completely on its own merits. What did you think about it?
I enjoyed it. I kind of guessed some of the intersectionality in it, that I mean, okay, probably that wasn't in the comics, but I didn't really care.
There was one thing in there
the lead
that you
was great.
think would be something that they added that actually was in the comics. The rest they added.
Ah, okay. I mean, I love the lead. I thought he was great. I know some people really dislike him immensely, but I thought, what a interesting person. I liked the story. It was well written. I'm looking forward to the next season.
Yeah. And as for me, I have read the Sandman comics, and I think that actually puts me at a disadvantage to someone like you that hasn't read it before, because you could see it without comparing it to something that it compares very adversely to. Now, Neil Gaiman, the writer of the comic, also was functionally the showrunner of this series, but he alerted us very, very early that we were in for a major disappointment here, and it was going to be woke as hell, because what he said in an interview, and I did a video on this at the time, because to me that was the biggest red flag there ever could be. And he thought that he said something positive. He thought that this was something that's going to win the people over. Because what he said was basically that, well, when we took the approach to making this series, was, okay, what if I was writing the Sandman comics today? What if we could make it different? How would we make it different, given that we are making it current year and for modern
audiences?
Yeah, so he was making this with a modern audience in mind. How can we diversify this? Who can we flip around and change up? Like, basically, that was the idea he went in with. How can we go and change this up?
I really dislike people who apologize for their past work and somehow have to change it.
Yeah,
it's really off-putting.
Yeah, and what I will say, I think that the cast is supremely talented. I think the special effects were good.
Mm-hmm.
I think that okay, I think that the cast mostly were supremely talented, mostly. And I think that the effects were mostly really tremendously good. And I think that the scripts were also, for the most part, very, very well done.
The antagonist is really good.
Yeah, well, I disagree with you there. I think that
I enjoyed him.
Yeah, I thought it was awful. I thought that the actor they had playing Morpheus himself, I don't remember his name right now.
An American actor?
Well,
he was doing an American accent.
I don't remember, honestly, where he's from. I don't remember his accent. I just thought that he was absolutely god-awful, and not for 1 second did I accept him as Morpheus. So he was a big problem, because I thought he was so miscast. He just came, like, seriously, he would have been better off going with someone like Edward Cullen, like, what's his face from the Batman, Robert Pattinson. I mean, he would have been bad, but he would have been better than this guy, who was even poor man's Robert Pattinson. I thought he was awful.
I like him. I don't know.
And that's fine. That's fine. But remember, this is why I say I'm at a disadvantage, because you don't have any prior notions. I have read the comics, so I already have, like, a picture in my mind of, like, how he should be. It wasn't like that. And then they had gone out of their way to diversify, very forcibly so.
Oh yeah, I got that sense.
Where it didn't fit. they did some race bendings, some gender bendings, and there were two that stuck out. One was Lucifer. I'm not going to complain too much about Lucifer because that chick from Game of Thrones that they had playing Lucifer, that was an inspired piece of casting. So that
She
was
was
fun.
big.
Yeah. And then
Wasn't
you
she
had
the one in the wasn't she the same woman as in
Game of Thrones.
Oh, Game of Thrones. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that was and then you had female John Constantine,
Right.
which I thought was, because I mean here you have the opportunity to actually get
Weren't they
Constantine
forced to have
right.
to do
Yeah,
that?
that was
though?
a contractual problem.
That was a contractual thing, but still it was so frustrating. It was contractual, but like you could have
I
done
can see
something
that.
else. You could have just written out the character completely or something.
Used
I
a
would have
different
preferred
character,
that.
created a new one. Yeah.
Use a different character rather
Yeah,
than okay, now we're just going to
Boston
further
team.
dilute it.
Oh,
So,
hi, Boston team. Yeah, hi.
So yeah, and some episodes were really, really good. Some were really bad. I thought most of them were relatively bland. So I think that they stuck too close to the comics and not close enough at the same time. I mean, that sounds like there's no way to make you happy, and making a series like Sandman is a really, really tall order. But all in all, I think that they botched it. Going the Netflix route absolutely was the way to do a Sandman series, but I think it was butchered at the expense of made for current audiences and for current year.
Well, if you want botched, The Good Omen 2 was botched. Okay.
Yeah, I only saw the first season.
You cannot so the
I
Sandman
liked the first season of Good
was
Omens. That was
fantastic.
good. Yeah.
The second season is a piece of shit.
Are they making the third one? Because from what I understand,
I don't know. The second season, if you want full intersectionality, 100% full speed ahead. The second one was dreadful, like beyond dreadful.
Because
I was really shocked that Gaiman was involved with it.
Good Omens, and for those who are just listening who wonder why the hell are you talking about Good Omens? That's also Neil Gaiman.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that I thought Sandman was coherent. I liked it. If the second season goes the way of Good Omens' second season, then it's going to be horrific.
I don't even know if it's going to get a second season.
I don't know that it's going to get one.
I remember your review at the time, Andre, was basically like you already took something that was progressive and you took it too far, kind of thing. Exactly. Like you didn't hate it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, but
that's because here's like the thing that Sandman was already plenty progressive. Like
that's what I understood.
Yeah, like for instance, the one thing I'm talking about, the second episode where you go to like the boarding house. And I don't like one of the hosts or the other people there is a they them who does like these drag shows and stuff like that, which was there. That's one thing that you would think that that's something that they did for modern audiences. No, that was actually there in the comics. So I don't have any complaints about that. But you basically had something that already was progressive.
Isn't that funny?
You didn't have to do anything with it. And then they progressed
kind of like Star Trek
more to the point where it became just like a cringeworthy joke. Like I
kind of like Star Trek.
I just thought it was cringeworthy, and it to me it ruined what otherwise would have been a fantastic adaptation. Like I don't mind like any of the issues in it because they were all there, but in their attempt at virtue signal, they ruined the whole thing. And if we don't get the second season, and that's a shame, because now is when it's starting to get good, or when it's and especially when we get to the likes of Seasons of Mist, which to me is the best Sandman story. That's the one that precludes the Lucifer series, which they also completely utterly botched. Because it's supposed to be the same Lucifer. So they already screwed it up that way. I mean, here they had the opportunity to fix it and do Lucifer right, but then they race-bent Lucifer. So now that's all gone, which doesn't matter because it's probably just going to be like a one and done anyway.
I like this quote that we have on screen here. That's why I've kept it up for so long, because this, I think, fits this and so many other things. They make too many things timely instead of timeless anymore.
Yes,
I agree,
exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
And you kind of were bringing this up the other day, Andre, and I mean, this might even fit into your recent series of videos that I haven't had a chance to get through yet, Paul. But like, yeah, I think that's gonna. And when we look back at this period of movies and entertainment on television and stuff, I think that's gonna be the bigger thing that people notice, outside of the few exceptions, is that everything is just way too timely and not timeless. And this kind of happened also in the 50s. That's why there's a lot of movies out of the 50s that just didn't live on, and the ones that do are a lot of the like costume epics and shit like that don't really carry a lot of that kind of stuff.
Although I
through.
don't think like viral videos, you can purposely make something timeless.
No. But this is, you can try to do something like Dune is a great example. What Denny's doing with Dune, I have a feeling, and I mean, I could be totally wrong, but you know, that's something that I think will last a while, because he's not trying to modernize it. He's just trying to adapt the story, utilizing what he can now. I mean, honestly, it's the closest thing we've gotten to Lord of the Rings since Lord of the Rings.
I would suggest changing the term timely with dated, because everything that's being made for current year audiences, or for current year, another way of putting it is dated as fuck. That's what it is. I mean, it's stuff that you're not going to be able to look at in 5 years in the future, because it's going to be so dated. You better hope that the cultural stagnation continues and that there's no progression in fashion or anything, because otherwise it's going to age really poorly. Like, one of my go-to examples is the two live act, or the first two main Spider-Man live action series. You have the Sam Raimi movie from the year 2000, and you have the reboot from 2012, The Amazing Spider-Man. For the 2000 movie, Sam Raimi, he made kind of like an amalgamation of the year 2000 and the 1960s, kind of like made like this artificial world, in a sense, similar to what Tim Burton did with his Batman movie, only obviously much more subtle, right? And in so doing, he gave that movie a kind of timeless quality, in a sense. Like, you can't really say if the movie, does it take place in the year 2000? Does it take place in 1995? Does it take place in 2005? It can fit throughout any of those, right? Whereas the Amazing Spider-Man is filled to the brim with 2012 markers. That movie is going to be so unbelievably dated that I submit that even now, but the further and further away in time we get from those movies, the better and better Spider-Man is going to hold up, and the worse and worse the Amazing Spider-Man is going to hold up.
I think the Spider-Verse movies are going to have the same problem too.
Yeah. Because now we don't make anything timeless, we make things dated, and that is what the Neil Gaiman did with this Sandman series. Instead of making something timeless, he has dated it tremendously.
Well, that's by way of the producers, because whenever you're pitching something to a producer, the first thing they say is, why does this movie have to be told now? What is it about this movie that makes it relevant to now? And it's the dumbest question ever, because you're not making movies from now. You're making movies for 5 years from now, because that's how long it's going to take to get one out. And then on top of that, you're making movies that people will watch 10, 15, 20 years from now,
30 years from
because
now,
you want that residual money to keep coming in from whatever type of new media sales you're getting. It's the most asinine thing. And I've been hearing that question since 2013.
Yeah. And actually, it's funny because I just was watching a new documentary on Young Guns. And I'm sure y'all are familiar with that movie. And what's funny about that is I'm sitting here listening to them talk, and they're talking about how at the time they had to overcome this stigma of the idea that they were just making this basically the Brat Pack in a Western, right? So they had to kind of rise above that. And so they were trying to make the movie very timeless and not worry about what was going on then in the current time with what, you know, everybody, the press was saying and all that kind of stuff. Because they even got laughed at when they first asked to get Jack Palance as the bad guy. Like, the studio laughed at them. They weren't even taking them seriously. They're like, you're serious? They're like, yeah, we want Jack Palance. They're like, you think he'd do this? And like, what do you mean you think he'd do this? Like, so they're like, they knew that was kind of like something they had to overcome. And, You know, a lot of these movies nowadays, they act like they're doing all this important shit for now. And that's the bigger problem we have here. And I think that's the problem with Sandman. I think you guys are right.
This clip was taken from Midnight's Edge in the Morning, which streams live every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 9 AM Pacific Time on the Midnight's Edge main channel. There you can send in your live questions and comments before clips and full stream replays are uploaded to Midnight's Edge live archives. We are also on Twitter, Rumble, Odyssey and Facebook, so smash that like, help share, subscribe and join us.